Now we'll look at the impacts on human health. As you can imagine, keeping thousands of animals confined in their own filth makes a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and viruses. The animals are stressed out, so it's easier for them to get sick. And then once they do get sick, it's easy for that bacteria or virus to spread to the thousands of other animals. There are also people coming into contact with these sick animals and their waste, and sometimes the bacteria or virus is able to jump from animals to people. That's what happened with swine flu, which is thought to have started at Smithfield Pork Factory Farm. The threat of antibiotic resistant bacteria isn't just some future problem, it's already killing tens of thousands of people. For instance, MRSA is an antibiotic resistant staph infection that kills more Americans than AIDS every year. But which do you hear more about, AIDS or MRSA? Why do you think that is? It's not clear, but look at who's likely to have MRSA: people who live near factory farms and people who work on factory farms. Antibiotic resistance isn't just a threat to workers and people living near factory farms, it could kill any one of us. A study of meat sold in supermarkets found that most of the meat had not just bacteria, but bacteria that is resistant to antibiotics. That means that if you eat undercooked meat, or if you eat food that's touched a counter where there was raw meat, you could get an infection that could make you sick or even kill you. In regards to chicken specifically, many people are not aware that the vast majority of chicken products sold in the United States are water chilled. Per USDA standards, chickens are required to be cooled down to 40 degrees after slaughter. The conventional method of chilling in an immense tub of cold chlorinated water is quick and efficient, but it requires a lot of fresh water. Not great when there's limited fresh water on the planet. And while sitting in the bath, the chickens inevitably absorb that bath water, thereby diluting the natural flavor of the chicken. For this reason, sodium plumping, the practice of injecting salt water into the chicken, is common. And all of this added water from the bath and sodium plumping contributes to the weight of chicken when consumers buy by the pound. When you see water at the bottom of prepackaged chicken, it's not juices, it's the communal bath water. Finally, if any of the chickens in the big communal bath are infected with bacteria, the water makes it easy for all the birds to catch the pathogens and then pass them on to your dining room table. Most of the chicken you've eaten throughout your life has been water chilled. None of our ancestors were eating this many animal products with this frequency. The standard American diet, abbreviated SAD, is making people sick. Here's a list of the top 10 leading causes of death in the US. The ones in red are all directly linked to the food we eat. Asthma and respiratory disease, strongly related to dairy consumption. Heart disease is the number one cause of death in the US, but people who don't eat meat are 1/3 less likely to die of heart disease. This man is Kim Williams, the president of the American College of Cardiology. He's actually plant-based, and he recommends a plant-based diet to all of his patients. Diabetes is another leading cause of death. How many of you have a friend or family member with diabetes? More and more people are getting diabetes, but people eating plant-based are 1/3 less likely to get diabetes. And people who already have diabetes can actually reverse it by eating plant-based. Doing so has been proven more effective at reversing diabetes than the American Diabetes Association diet. Consuming meat has also been shown to lead to increased cancer risk. The World Health Organization recently reviewed thousands of studies from all over the world and conclusively stated that red and processed meat are carcinogenic to humans. Red meat, which includes pork products such as bacon, as well as beef products such as hamburger or steak, was classified as a Group 2A probable carcinogenic. Processed meat, which includes products such as hot dogs, sausage, and ham, was classified as a Group 1 carcinogenic. Additionally, the American Cancer Society just published new dietary guidelines for cancer prevention, and these recommendations include limiting or completely avoiding both red and processed meats. In one really shocking study from USC, researchers found that people with diets high in animal protein were 4 times more likely to die of cancer. A lot of studies have also shown a connection between eating meat and obesity. And other studies have found that a plant based diet is one of the most effective ways to lose weight and keep it off. Fiber and nutrient density are both contributing factors to maintaining a healthy weight, and plant based foods are naturally higher in both. You might wonder, why aren't more people talking about this? Can you imagine if there was a pill that helped you lose weight and cut your risk of getting heart disease, cancer, and diabetes? Every doctor would prescribe it, and people would pay millions of dollars for it. Unfortunately, pharmaceutical companies can't make any money off of people buying and eating healthy food, so our diet doesn't get as much attention as pills to prescribe. In fact, many doctors only get a single class on nutrition in all of medical school. But luckily, some healthcare providers are starting to catch on. Kaiser Permanente, one of the largest healthcare providers in the United States, said that all of their doctors should consider recommending a plant based diet to their patients. When considering a plant based diet, many people will ask about vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential to the human body, but many people are confused about where vitamin B12 comes from. Vitamin B12 used to be found in bacteria in our soil and water. So, when we would eat food such as root vegetables or drink water from a river or stream, we would get our vitamin B12 through consuming this bacteria found on the food and in the water. But because of how much we now sanitize our food, our water, the vast majority of vitamin B12 is killed, and we need to supplement to ensure we are getting enough of this important vitamin. Animals are given B12 supplements, so animal products such as meat and dairy contain this vitamin. If we're not eating animal products, we simply need to take a supplement, which can be found in stores and online. Speaking of supplements, the EPIC study out of Oxford University found that meat eaters have more than twice the nutritional deficiencies as plant based eaters. So, where do you get your protein if not from meat? Many people don't know that you can actually get all the protein you need from just eating plants. Even fruits and vegetables have protein. Foods like spinach, avocado, black beans, whole grain oats, nuts, and seeds are all high in protein. As an added bonus, when you choose plant protein instead of animal protein, you get to pass on all the cholesterol that gets consumed when eating animal products, because plants do not contain cholesterol. While protein is absolutely an essential macronutrient, most people living in the US get 2 or 3 times more protein than they need, which has its own negative health consequences. Check out the website, nomeatathlete.com, to learn more about plant protein. Speaking of important nutrients, iron is a very important nutrient. So, where do you get your iron if not from meat? Here are some plant foods that are high in iron. And you'll notice that some of these foods, like beans, whole grain oats, and nuts, were listed on the last slide, too, meaning that there are a lot of plant foods that are high in both protein and iron. One more important nutrient I want to be sure to talk about is calcium, because many people are curious as to how they can get calcium if they're not consuming dairy. Just like we learned with protein and iron, you can actually get all the calcium you need from plant food. Dark leafy greens such as bok choy, kale, and collard greens are high in absorbable calcium. Fruits like oranges and figs are packed with calcium too. We all want to be sure we are consuming calcium throughout the day, so incorporating foods like what you see here at every meal will help you achieve that goal. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about dairy. Does anybody know where milk comes from? Yes, it comes from a cow. Some people think that it comes from a carton or the store because, as urban consumers, we're often very disconnected from our food. Now, contrary to popular belief, cows are not magical lactating machines. What has to happen before a cow produces milk? Right, she has to have a baby. So, for us humans to be drinking milk means that a baby calf was taken away from their mother, often to become veal. This is the milk that is meant to help a baby calf grow into a 1,000-pound animal. Can anybody think of another species that drinks another species' milk into adulthood? In the wild, for example, do you ever see a wildebeest go up to a hyena and drink its milk? Of course not. When did it become normal for humans to drink another species' milk? If there was a golden retriever dog and she had puppies and I offered you a cup of her milk, would you drink it? What if there was a breastfeeding human mother here? No. So why do we drink cow's milk? This map shows rates of lactose intolerance all over the world, with the darker regions showing where people are most lactose intolerant, 80 to 100%. A lot of Asians, Africans, and indigenous native people are lactose intolerant. We drink milk in this country because Europeans colonized this land, and now a lot of us are consuming a diet that we're not as genetically adapted for. There was a time in the early 2000s when 80% of us saw a got milk ad every single day, and we were told that we had to drink cow's milk to build strong bones. Take a minute to look at China here in darkest blue. Can anybody think of a single Chinese dish that contains dairy or cheese? No, but Chinese people have lower rates of osteoporosis, brittle bone disease, than we do in the US. There's actually a protein in cow's milk that makes it hard for the body to absorb the calcium. So if you want to build strong bones, look for foods that are high in absorbable calcium. Also, while there are many causes of acne, many estheticians counsel clients to reduce dairy intake as part of their complete acne treatments. Researchers and doctors associated with the American Academy of Dermatology have hypothesized that dairy triggers outbreaks because of the presence of hormones and growth factors in milk. We already talked about how you can get all the protein you need from just eating plants, but you might still be wondering about the ability to eat plant-based if you are an athlete. We have this idea that you need meat to build strong muscles and milk to build strong bones, but many athletes, including professional and Olympic athletes, have proven that eating plant-based is not only possible, but in fact can actually improve performance. Let's check out this trailer for the documentary, The Game Changers.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger. I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials. Steak. That's what a man eats. Selling that idea that real men eat meat. Serious man food. But you got to understand, that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
I've been teaching fighting techniques to government agencies for more than 15 years. Then I got injured, unable to teach for at least 6 months. I spent more than 1,000 hours studying science on recovery and nutrition, and stumbled across a study about the Roman gladiators.
The gladiators were predominantly vegetarian.
How could the original professional fighters be so powerful, eating only plants?
When I made the switch to a plant-based diet, I qualified for my 3rd Olympic team. I broke 2 American records. I was like, man, I should have done this a long while ago.
When I went plant-based, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive. And I actually became like a machine.
One of the biggest misconceptions in sports nutrition is that we have to have animal protein to perform at a high level. That's just not true.
Sometimes you have to do things that you know your competitors aren't doing.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
Yeah. I think this is going to wake a lot of people up. I was recovering better, not getting as sore. This was our best season in the last 15 years, and we had 14 guys on plant-based diets.
We all want to feel great, have more energy. Cholesterol was 276. Today, 169.
Whoa, now you're talking. Most guys my age can keep up with the grandchildren. My grandchildren can't keep up with me.
It's not one set of dietary guidelines for improving your performance as an athlete, another one for reversing heart disease, reversing diabetes. It's the same for all of them.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?